Tony is a licensed attorney, professional surveyor and mapper, PSM, in Florida, and a registered professional land surveyor, RPLS, in Texas. He holds a PhD in geomatics, a JD law degree, an MS in geospatial surveying engineering, and a BS in surveying engineering. And like I said earlier, he got to play field surveyor with me today. And so I love starting off January with kind of business and safety related topics. So tonight, Dr. Nettleman's going to do the 5 processes that changed the business for a better. And then we're going to skip next week because it's MLK weekend and a holiday, federal holiday. And then we'll be back on the 23rd and Tony will be back for a safety presentation. So I like kind of starting off the beginning of the year with these kind of things to get business related topics going and get the flow going early in the year. So as always, Tony, I appreciate you jumping on and taking care of us tonight and showing us how you run your business.
Well, I appreciate you doing this webinar, Trent. Thank you for the opportunity. And Trent and I and several of Trent's employees spent the day surveying in Las Vegas, a good easement dispute, which is really weird. It will be a case study one of these days in a course for sure. But welcome, everybody. Tonight's going to be the 5 processes that changed my business for the better. It's funny, I ran a small business seminar, started one like at least 10 years ago. And I just laugh at that now because all the things I did not know 10 years ago, I mean, it's just laughable. I was giving people small business advice. I probably should have been, shot. But I'm going to turn on my chat window here so I can see everyone when they make comments. And I'm going to encourage everyone here to ask questions, to make comments. If you have a funny something to put in there, put it in there. We got plenty of time. And let's get started. So I became a land surveyor just by happenstance. My grandfather received a letter from the IRS when I was, 12 or 13 years old. And it wasn't just one letter. It was stacks of IRS letters. And it turns out he didn't pay his income taxes for over 10 years. And, the IRS has they're like a boa constrictor. They start off real easy and it gets tighter and tighter. So they send you a letter, they send you a more threatening letter, and then a more threatening letter. And then they schedule a visit at the IRS office to scare you. Well, do y'all know what happens when you do not respond to any of those letters?
I was going to say, it can't be good.
What do y'all think? What do you think happens when you ignore the IRS and don't pay your income taxes?
I would imagine eventually.
Audit.
Yeah, I was going to say that's audits or warrants or.
No, they already audited you. Like if they send you a letter, they'll put in there what they think you owe. Like they've gotten your records and they have an idea of what you owe. So
Connie says they give up in 10 years.
No, they seize your assets.
There you go.
So they seized Walt's bank accounts and other assets to pay the taxes. And, do you think the IRS estimates high or low in what you owe them? They're going to estimate high, right? I mean, they don't know your deductions. They just know your income. So, of course, Walt got his assets seized. And then he hired me to be his accountant, the 12-year-old, which is hilarious. So for the first few years, I ran the books and got his taxes done and a bunch of other things. And then I was slowly introduced to land surveying, the technical side of things. But, I thought to myself when I graduated high school and got out of college, I said, I've seen all the things you should never do when you start and run a small business. Therefore, it'll be easy for me. Like I've already seen all the things never to do, and I'm just not going to do any of these bad things, and then I'll be on easy street. Well, that's not really the case. And, a lot of us fall into this fallacy of I'm a great surveyor, therefore I'm going to have a successful business. But really, those two things are mutually exclusive. I mean, you can be a great surveyor and be a horrible business person. You can be a great business person and be a horribly bad technical surveyor. So there's some essential skills, knowledge that any small business or any business for that matter has to know. And if you follow these basic business principles, you're setting yourself up for success. But just because you're a good surveyor does not mean that you're a good business person. So this the theory of the E-Myth says understanding the technical work of a business does not mean you understand how to operate the business. So you may do a great boundary survey, but if you don't bill your clients, you're going to be broke. Pretty basic. And but I don't, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, they think that I'm a great surveyor, I'm a great baker, I'm a great, anything. I'm going to start my own business and I'm going to have the run of the market. Well, that's really not true, because there's a lot of people who are highly, highly competent technicians, but do not run their business using business principles. They run their business through emotions. I'm scared, therefore I need more money. I'm excited, therefore I've spent all my money. I'm busy, therefore I won't pay my taxes for a while. So if y'all don't read any books this year except one business book, you've got to buy the E-Myth. It's amazing. I mean, I read this thing 5 or 6 years ago, and I really didn't understand it. But a while back, say 2 years ago, I realized that I was frustrated. I was tired. The business was not serving me personally. So I went out and I hired an E-Myth business coach, and it is the best. It is the best investment I've ever made in my business. Danny, it's called the E-Myth Revisited. And Michael Gerber has a whole bunch of E-Myth books. So if you have a little extra time, another book is called the E-Myth CFO. Read it last year. It's amazing. And Michael Gerber, the author of E-Myth, I mean, when I read his books, I feel like he's talking directly to me. It's amazing. And there's a lot of good stuff. So definitely pick up this book. It's great. So here's a question. First of all, who in here either works for or owns a business, say under 50 employees? And you can type it in the box. You can say something. Let's have a quick poll. So in the chat box, if you own or manage or operate a business under 50 employees, just say yes. A lot of people. Not anymore. I like that. So why did you start a business? That's a big question, because I started my business because, first of all, I don't think I could ever work for anyone, unfortunately. And second, I feel like the quality of my business, I mean, all we care about is quality. Don't care about the cost, don't care about the timing. We'll take as much time as we need to. It's all about quality. And a lot of surveying firms really are focused on efficiency. So I have a different philosophy, and that's why I started my small business. Now, somebody else in here, y'all tell me, why did you start your small business? Or why do you want to start one?
Flexibility.
Flexibility, yeah. I love
Demand.
that. Now, flexibility, I kind of laugh because I think the small business owner or manager works more hours than they would on a salary position, but you can work when you want to. Also, you can choose what clients you take. If you don't like a client, don't take them. If you work for somebody else, good luck doing that. So legacy controls, yeah, that's true. when I worked at the university, they wanted us to work and build the program and all this stuff. And I just laughed sometime at the extra work because you have no equity. You work there and then they'll fire you or find somebody better if they find it. And you basically worked for no equity. Be your own boss. Yep. Run the business the way I want. I love it. Agreed. But you've really got to decide why you're opening the business or why you have the business. Because if you're a good technician, but you're a horrible business person, or even a mediocre business person, if you do not enjoy the game of the business, you should close the business and go work for somebody else. Because it's about playing the game and enjoying it. And if you're not good at business, go work for somebody else. Don't go through the hassle, the stress, the extra work. If you're a good technician and you're not a good business person, close the business, sell it. Who cares? But if you do enjoy playing the game, then let's take a little exercise here. So one of the E-Myth exercises, this is the first of the 5 processes. This is called the primary aim. And the idea is, what do you want out of your life? Because the business is meant to benefit you, not the other way around. So, excuse me. The way you do this is you write yourself an obituary. And what do you want your obituary to say? Now, this may sound easy, but it took a lot of perseverance to write your own obituary, at least on my part, because it's kind of grim, it's very deep, and it's difficult to know what you really want. So that was a tough part. But there's also these questions. What do you want your life to look like? I want to have fun in my business. I want to have fun in my personal life. I want to do big things, and I want to use my time as I please. What do you value the most? Seeing the people I help later in life succeed because I help them. And I also want to have the freedom to do what I enjoy. I enjoy solving complex problems. I do not enjoy drafting AutoCAD lines and boxes. One of Trent's employees loves laser scanning, talks all about laser scanning, tells all about the parameters of the instrument and the times and all this stuff. That's great. You need people like that because they can educate you on what to buy. Do I care how many points per second the Trimble X7 scans? Well, I mean, maybe in a brief conversation, but really, whatever, Also, what matters most at this point in your life? I want to do fun things. I want to spend time with my family, but I also want to achieve certain professional goals and see my business succeed. So these are the kind of questions the primary aim asks you. And then you've got to figure out, what are the barriers to these things you want? Like, I want to work less and spend more time with my wife. What is a barrier to that? Last minute commitments, having to go places, cases, whatever. So what do? Well, I schedule 1 3-day weekend per month, and I schedule 1 vacation every 3 months. And no matter what happens, we go on vacation, we have a 3-day weekend. This is really simple stuff, but if you can really figure out what you want in life and what's holding it back, it crystallizes what you should do next. If I had somebody offer me $50,000 to go fix a problem during my week off, I'd say no, because this is something that's important. Now, let's take this for fun. So somebody tell me, what is an important thing in your life you want to do, whatever, now or in a year something important, and what is a barrier to doing it? Jerry wants to finish his Firebird, but a barrier is that he's got an exam to write. Maybe we'll send him a new carburetor as a bonus for finishing the FS. So somebody tell me, what's something important in your life and what's a barrier to it? And we're not going forward until someone answers other than Trent. Okay, he wants to ski every day with my wife. Oh, but the weather. Now hold on a second, George. Is it the weather or is it where you're living? Is there a better place you could move that would have more consistent ski days?
No, there's no better place than Reno to live and ski. It's just that we've had constant snow for the last 6 weeks. The mountain wasn't even open today. You could drive up there, but it wasn't open. It's crazy. The rest of this week, there's a short break, and then next week starts all over again.
Okay, so be thinking about what is a barrier breaker. My husband wants a boat. Oh no, but I can't afford one. Do I start a business or get a different husband? Connie, you're gonna regret buying that boat. Let me tell you. I bought a boat last year and I used it a bunch of times initially, and then I sold it like 9 months later. The good thing is I didn't lose any money. I actually broke right even. But tell your husband that his dream of a boat is much better and more fulfilling than actually having the boat. Yeah. So here's your eulogy.
Get him a kayak. Sorry.
What's that?
Jerry says, start small, get him a kayak.
Oh, yeah. His family had a 50-foot trawler and $5 million. Connie, you can always kill your husband and take his money, and then you'll find a new husband and still have the money.
Oh no, the family spent the money on a boat. There's nothing left.
Oh, okay.
Oh, geez.
That's funny. So here's the last part of the primary aim. And this is where you chart out what you want to do in 6 months and a year and 5 years, whatever. Now, this is kind of corny because there's a lot of stuff in here and it's difficult to foresee the future. But let me tell you, I did this for a year and it has changed how I plan my day, my week, my month, my year. Because I go back and I look at this every Sunday and I think, am I making progress toward my travel and leisure goals? Am I making progress toward my hobbies? Am I making progress toward retirement, annual income? And sometimes I say yes, and I mark off a goal, and it feels amazing. Like one of my goals is to have a week off every quarter. We just took a trip to the beach in December, had a full week off, didn't work at all, sat around, watched television, played with the kids, whatever. Very relaxing. And I feel much better now than I did a month ago. So another thing, I bought this airplane 2.5 years ago as a shell. And I've been working on this thing off and on for, over 2 years. And my goal was to have this thing finished by January 2023. Well, it was really December 2022, but I started the thing up and I ran it around, taxied it, about 99.9% done. Wow, 2 years is a long time to be working on a goal. But if you get this plan together, then you've got something to aim for. And if you're aiming for something and you don't quite hit it, it's much better than having nothing to aim for at all. And you can do income, you can do business growth, you can do professional goals. Like I wanted to get licensed in 2 new states last year. I got licensed in 4. Overachieved the goal. So what do you do next year? Well, I don't want to get 4 licenses, but we'll find some other things to do. So use this chart and think about what is one thing that you want to get done in 2023 by, or even better, the first 6 months. So June 2023 ends. What is the one thing you guys want to do? Personal, professional, hobby, family? Give me something. Get a license. That's great. What else? Go to Tahiti. Okay. So, Lynn, you want to go to Tahiti. I mean, what is holding you back? I mean, why can't you go right now? You have a credit card. There's an airplane. Why not just go today? Money. Oh, so you have to save some money to go to Tahiti. Okay, that makes more sense. That's great. So always be thinking about what is holding you back, what are the barriers, and what is the barrier breaker. So Lynn, maybe you work an extra 10 hours a month or something and stock away the money and go to Tahiti. So next I'm going to ask you guys, your business must serve your hopes, your dreams, your goals, and your lifestyle. So what are those hopes and dreams? What's this lifestyle? And there's no harm in putting a dollar amount. I want to make $1 million this year. I want to make $250,000 this year. Whatever, set a goal and then figure out how to get to it. And the primary aim is a great tool to go through this. Here's my primary aim. Last year, wanted to get my multi-engine rating, did it. Wanted a flight review, did it. Got 30 surveyor CEUs done. This year, I want to get my certified flight instructor rating, getting started on that Thursday. So if you've got an idea of where you want to go, you can always be kind of pushing yourself towards it. So primary aim is a great tool. Now, I'm also going to say that your business needs a primary aim. Why did you start this business and what is the vision? Well, this is called a strategic objective. And I'm not going to read all this stuff, but our strategic objective, our brand promise, NLC Prep promises to serve as a mentor and partner by providing every available test prep resource to the students, blah, blah, blah. Well, if anyone reads this in our business, students or team members, whatever, they are going to know what we're going to do for you. Why am I answering the phones? Why am I making the FS exam? Why am I whatever? It's because we want to get people licensed as surveyors. And that's what this statement says. And the idea that I operate a business to make a survey. Horrible brand promise. Diamondback Land Surveying promises to serve the Las Vegas community by providing accurate and complete and efficient surveys, whatever that is. I mean, what is going to make your business different from all the others? Put it in your brand promise. And then this sucker is called a objective and key results. This is another document I like to use. And this basically is like the goals for 6 months, for a year, for 10 years. Guess what? Our strategic objective is at the very top. How do we get there? We got to make some money, got to find some new clients, going to hire some more surveyors to help out. This is the roadmap, but that's way too much detail right now. I say strategic objective, and the strategic objective is going to get you to where you want to go. So the next question is, how's it going? And what I mean by that is, how is your business doing today? Now, Trent, how many leads do you try to get every week? So if somebody calls and I need a survey, do you have a number of potential clients you want to see call in or email in every week?
Yeah, we're definitely looking for that 25 to 30 a week.
Okay, so that's one key strategic indicator, KSI. And the KSI are these basically a scorecard for your business. And if it's Wednesday and you've had 3 people call in, you should be a little concerned. If it's Tuesday and you've had 50 people call in, you should say, "Oh my God, what are we doing differently that's, tripled our business?" Now, what kind of KSIs do you need? Well, potential clients, revenue, profit, whatever you want. So when you think, how's it going business wise? Why don't y'all tell me 1 or 2 things, indicators that y'all try to see, money wise, potential client wise? How do you track your business's success?
No one? Mine's business revenue growth year over year.
Okay, so now revenue. So I want to make $1 million this year, $1.5 million next year. So you're tracking revenue. Now,
Correct.
that's a good idea. But what else? What what else do you track in terms of finances, Trent? Because you could make $5 million and you could spend 10, and then you could
Exactly.
be bankrupt, right?
Exactly.
So these KSIs are taking the pulse of your business, and you're thinking, am I doing okay? How about how much money's in the bank account? If you've got a 35-person business and you've got, $500,000 in your bank account, life's good in the retained earnings. If you've got 35 employees and you have $5,000 in the cash account in the business, what do you think your pulse is going to be doing? It's going to blow up. You got payroll to run. Payroll every 2 weeks, no matter what, and the people will get paid.
Yeah,
Now,
that
what?
pulse is a heart attack
Yeah, exactly. You're
with $5
dead.
grand.
And also, not just about potential clients or revenue or money, but also how happy are your team members? I've got this little tool, and every week, every employee fills out a form like, what was your weekly high? What was your weekly low? Rate your stress 1 to 5, rate your happiness 1 to 5. And if I see someone stressed out every so often, it happens. Like I'm stressed out sometimes too. I've got the damn Browns book update February 1st. I haven't written 1 word, taking over Walt's bad habits. But, if you've got someone who's stressed out week after week, you got to ask them, John, why are you like a 5 out of 5 stress for the past month? What's up? Well, my wife and I are getting divorced. Oh. So these KSIs are going to help you track how your business is doing. What do I do? Well, marketing funnel is great. So like number of leads, number of converted leads. Also revenue and profit are very usual ones. And also employee happiness, customer happiness. If I have a customer who very, very rarely is there a customer that's not happy. So if someone leaves a Google review less than a 5 out of 5 for NLC prep, I'm concerned. And I want to know why. So these KSIs help you diagnose what's going on. Now, how about this? So you want to know the financial health of your business. How often should you track the profit loss, revenue, profit, balance sheet, all that stuff? Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, never? I bet people haven't run a P&L in years. What do y'all think? Daily, weekly, monthly, what would y'all pick for running your financials?
I'm a weekly, monthly, and quarterly.
Okay. What about you, Connie? What would you run? Bi-monthly, okay, every 2 weeks. Yep, it's a great idea, monthly. Now, what scares me about monthly is I feel like if you do it too seldom, if you spot a trend that's not going well, it's been a month. So I'm not sure if you could, how quickly you can turn it around. So, but also there are these people who log into their checking account every day. Do I have enough money in my account? Next day. How much money's in my account? Well, if you're that worried about your daily balance, you should probably start budgeting or something, because if you're concerned you're not going to have money every day, it's very stressful. So also, who is going to collect this data? I'm going to run another seminar on philosophies of small business, but one of these philosophies is who, not how. I asked Trent to scan some maps for me today, and he did it. The boss scanned the maps. No, no, no. Who is going to do this? So who is going to run the reports? Who is going to collect the financial data? Who's going to contact the customers? Who's going to do this? Because I'm not going to do it. I've got plenty of other things to do. So this is my format. I've got expert services, NLC prep, NICET's the university, have a CEUs thing going on. So this is expert services. So the first time someone contacts us, they say, I have a problem with a legal dispute, a boundary dispute. We want to have 4 people contact us every month, 1 per week. And in December 19th, which is about halfway through the month, 2 out of 4 people contacted us. So what do you think? Is that pretty good? I mean, are we on track to make our 4 out of 4 goal? Sure. All right. Now we want to do an initial review. So the initial review is where we look at someone's file and we decide whether they'd be a good client. So this is like halfway between the full client and the first contact. They pay us $2,000. We look at their file and we talk to them about it. It's December 19th. We've had 1 out of 2 initial consults. Should I be concerned? What do you think, Connie? Should I be worried if I see 1 out of 2 initial consults and it's December 19th? Why? No, you got 1 out of 2. It's going okay. Now we've got 1 out of 1 full client, signed a contract, paid his retainer. Life's good. $25,000 in the bank. Now, we also want to make sure we're billing and collecting money. So it's December 19th. My goal is to collect $41,000 this month. I've got 52. Who thinks we should go on vacation? The month's over. No, not quite. But, looks pretty good. Now, I've had some scorecards where it's $0, $0, $0, $10,000 by half of the month. Then you should be a little concerned. But it's a lumpy business, so no big deal. A lot of people like spreadsheets. I love this spreadsheet. I've got a KSI in a spreadsheet form where I can compare revenue, profit, employee happiness, customer happiness, and other marketing metrics month by month for every month for the past 3 or 4 years. And you think, well, NLC prep only made X dollars this month. Should I be concerned? You go back to last year, we doubled in the past year. I'm not worried. Or you could say, I've had 2 out of 4 leads for the past 3 months. Well, okay, a little concerned. So this is basically making sure that you are not running your business with emotion. You are running your business with data. And if the data says things are going great, keep it up. If the data says things are not going so great, maybe you should make some systems changes. get back on track. And the last thing is you've got to share this stuff with your team. We send off every Monday morning, the scorecard gets made by 12 p.m. on Monday. It gets distributed to everybody. We talk about it in meetings. We talk about it in management meetings. It gets shared, it gets discussed. If there are any issues where we are not meeting our goals, it's going to get fixed. So the more data you share, the better. Monday scorecards go out, segment meetings, review the scorecards, strategic meeting, review the spreadsheet. And I love this format because it's so simple. Like you have 4 items. How's it going? Real basic, great, okay, or not going so great. But then once you get into the spreadsheet, you can really dive in and do a lot of data analytics. But you don't need to do that every Monday. I'm just trying to see if things are on track to have a good month. This is my spreadsheet, an example. So in July, August, and September of last year, we had a kind of a crummy July. It was okay, but look at August. We had 10 out of 4 initial calls, 6 out of 2 reviews, 2 out of 1 full client. That's a good month. I mean, and we were really excited, and it's been really consistently good all year long. Quarterly, we beat our goal for initial calls, beat our goal for initial cases, and beat our goal for a full client sign up. It was a great quarter. And if you can show that how good it is, you've got to reward your team because everybody's working hard, and that's why we got all these great metrics. And in fact, after a couple of really good quarters, my paralegal got a raise, and it made him happier. So I was happy, got a lot of business. He was happy, he made more money, and the business goes on. So the third thing is going to be a budget and a balance sheet. And I told y'all earlier that if y'all read one book, read the E-Myth. If y'all read a second book, read the Chief Financial Officer, the CFO book. This guy, Michael Gerber, the things he said, every business is a family business because your family and your employees' families are relying on this business for their bread. Very true. So we're all invested in this to make a great business because it's not just our butts in the line, it's our families too. So everybody works hard. This book is packed with like philosophy of small business. And I read it 2 or 3 times, and there are so many highlights, underlines, dog ears. I mean, I just destroyed my book. I destroyed it so much, I had to cut the spine out and punch it. So get this book. It's kind of expensive, but it's worth it.
It's on audiobook as well, if those that do audibles and all that. So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
And it's a very simple book. So there's nothing advanced in there. So if you listen to it, you get the same information in reading. It's not a technically complex book. Now, who believes this? Money doesn't buy happiness. Well, my question is, what does poverty buy? Poverty sucks. So you better. Now, also, what is the lifeblood of a business? It's cash flow. It's not profit. It's not revenue. It's cash flow, because you have to have the money at the time it's required. There are so many businesses who book a crazy profit on paper, but go bankrupt. Look at all these tech companies, booking billions in profit, and it turns out it's completely fake. FTX, the cryptocurrency people, making billions and billions and billions, and it turns out it was all fake. The officers were basically looting and buying, dozens of houses and cars and boats. Connie, if you need a boat, you should start a cryptocurrency, and people will believe there are a lot of money, so you could buy a 50-foot trawler and have plenty of money left over. I have 10 50-foot trawlers.
Yeah, just get some investors, right?
Exactly, and not even like savvy investors, just children on their phones investing money, and then, you're in.
Yeah, the less savvy the investor, the better, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's why like Robinhood and all these other places you can buy, on credit or options and get, then you'd be rich and your husband would be happy. You'd probably get your second husband if you had so much money. So they say money doesn't buy happiness, and that's true. I mean, you got to have your family and your business, all these great things around you, but poverty doesn't help either. So let's not get on this, a lot of people have this aversion to money. And if you don't have your money in line in a small business, you're not going to have a small business for very long. So here are a couple of truths. The average small business owner avoids accounting and finance like the plague. Yep, I avoid it. Thank God my wife is a financial controller. She manages all the money, because if it's up to me, I would just spend everything. Oh, got money. Oh, let's go buy a boat. Average small business owner loathes analysis, and they gravitate toward their chosen areas. So if you're a great surveyor, you're going to be surveying. If you're a great salesperson, you'll be selling. You're not going to be focused on the finances, because people often do what they like to do and they avoid everything else. But it's really crucial to make sure you're running your financial operations correctly, because you're always at risk of making a fatal decision. And if you have a big war chest, you've got, $500,000 in the bank, you can make some mistakes and big deal. But if you've got $5,000 in the bank and you make a mistake, it could, fatally harm your business. So let's talk about one other thing, which is that most small businesses are run on emotion. A lot of small business owners, they don't know their numbers, and they're making choices out of fear, out of greed, out of whatever. But you've got to make decisions based on data. And if you're not making these decisions based on data, then who knows if you're going to pick the right answer. So you've got to know all about your business's key financial indicators. And what I mean by that is revenue, profit, how much liquid assets do you have? What kind of equity do you have? Shareholders' equity. How many days of cash flow do you have for your business? If you've got 30 days of cash flow, you're pretty good. If you've got 4 days of cash flow, then you should probably be concerned. And the only way to really understand this is to have a team. And, oh yeah, Connie needs a wife. My wife is so good at finances. I bet she could do yours too. So the way that my financial system works in my business is there's 3 layers of finance. There's the bookkeeper, which does the day-to-day transactions and writes checks or what, just day-to-day transactions, that base level. In the middle, you've got the financial controller that's running the daily, weekly, monthly, profit and loss, cash flow statement, balance sheet, whatever. That's like, the short-term, medium-term strategic decisions, and also supervising the bookkeeper. But I also hired a part-time chief financial officer. He's about 80 years old. He has forgotten more stuff about small business than I will ever know. And the reports, the Excel spreadsheets, the data analysis that he can perform is amazing. And you think like, John, I have these 3 goals for next year. I want to buy $500,000 in new equipment. I want to hire 2 new survey consultants, and I want to have $250,000 in the bank for emergencies. How do I do it? Well, you're going to have to bill this many hours. You're going to have to collect this much money. You should watch out for these problems that happened before, and just really sage advice, like long-term planning. And the benefits of having this are really incredible. Last year, we were billing clients and expert services and then waiting to get paid. And John said, you know what? If I were you, I would make them pay up a large retainer and not do any work until they replenish it. So everything is prepayment. And we said, wow, we can't do that. I mean, we've never done that before. We can't do that. And we tried it. It's amazing. Having 0 money outstanding. If you want a service, you have to pay first and then we'll do it. No more chasing the rogue client to pay their bill. It's freedom. Freedom from dealing with BS and the 1 in 50 clients who don't pay that stress you out. Completely transformed expert services. So now we say, you have a problem, send us $25,000. And the ones who say yes are the good clients who want our services. And the ones who say no are the clients we never wanted in the first place. Amazing. I mean, when you have advisors who give you unbiased advice and they give you a completely different perspective on your business than you could have had from the inside, worth 100 times what they charge. So the basics for financial documents: budget versus actual, which is P&L; balance sheet, which is, well, you guys tell me, what is a balance sheet? And y'all can unmute your mic if you want to say something. What's a balance sheet? You know, Connie.
It's a report of your assets and liabilities that you can run.
Sure. So now you got assets which are positive. You've got liabilities which are negative. And what do you have when your, well, let me ask you this 2 questions. What do you have when your assets exceed your liabilities?
Net worth.
You have profit. You have extra.
Shareholders' equity. So no longer are you a worker bee, you are an owner of the business, and your business is worth $500,000. That's equity for you and your shareholders. Now, flip it. What do you have when your liabilities exceed your assets?
You have debt.
No, your debt is the liability. You have insolvency. Your business is worth less than nothing. So what are your 2 options? You can either work harder and get some assets to make 0 or better, or you can declare bankruptcy or close the business. Because when your liabilities exceed your assets, something is seriously wrong, and your creditors can actually close your business for you through court action if you're insolvent. And last but not least, we got our cash flow statement, because without cash to pay your vendors, to pay your employees, to pay yourself, life is going to get very difficult. So the budget versus actual is an income statement where you have your income, your expenditures, also called a profit and loss. And I run this every 2 weeks. We have a finance meeting every 2 weeks, and we go through budget versus actual, balance sheet, what the clients owe us, if anything, what major expenses are coming up. this is a meeting with my financial controller to tell me how's it going financially. And if you have, 3 bills coming up, each of $10,000, you better find $30,000 before the next meeting because you got some people to pay. Now, let me ask you all this, small business owners, what is your goal for profit percentage? So you make $100,000 this quarter, this year, whatever. How much money you're percentage-wise, according to your budget, are you going to keep in profit? What's the percentage? 25%, 50%, 95%?
Don't most people end up around 15% in our business?
15%? Wow.
End up with.
Now, is that what you budget, or is that what actually happens at the end of the year?
I'm just asking. I hear that a lot of people in our business have very low profit numbers.
It's a great question, Sean. What is the common margin? So you'll laugh. For prep, a lot of the time, our margin is 0. Make a lot of money, spend a lot of money. We want high quality products. Sometimes it's 0 to 10%. But expert services, our profit margins are usually about 90 to 95%. So, it kind of evens out, right? But if you've got just one business, you got to have a decent profit margin. Otherwise, what's the point? Now,
I'm sorry. I lost you with the 90, 95%. We went from 0 to 90.
So,
could you clarify that?
Sure. So NLC prep is test prep for surveyors, and it makes good money. We spend a lot of money. It's sometimes around a 0% profit margin. Now, my other business, Expert Services, that does court consulting, civil trial testimony, that is usually about 90 to 95% profit margin. So if you've got one business segment that supports the other, this could be like you do Alta surveys, you make 50%. You do boundary surveys, you make 25%. You do construction staking, you make 10%. So a lot of times surveyors have different segments of services with different profit margins. And I'm not saying to let the profit margin drive your business, but if you're not making a decent profit margin, you're not going to have a business for long. Now, Lynn, is that 20 to 25% after you pay yourself as an owner? So now you're worth $100,000 a year. That's what you could work on the open market, get paid. Pay yourself in your small business and then tell me what your profit margin is. And that's where small business owners really get mixed up because, they think I made, 50% this year, but they could have earned $200,000 working for somebody else. Well, you got to pay yourself because every business owner is a shareholder, but a lot of us are also employees. I'm working in my small business as an employee while I'm owning, part of the business. You got to pay yourself. I mean, you'd never work for free. So income statement, budget versus actual, at least once a month, check in. We have a quarterly meeting where we review it. The CFO does his, super analysis. And then every year we close out the year, see how we did, send some bonuses to the team members because they worked hard, and start it all over again.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I actually do not pay myself. And for a couple of reasons, but I mean, is is there an implication? Because like my CPA wants to kill me, but there's also like, you know, this payroll taxes and stuff. Because I've got, I think right now I'm 15 employees, and it's just until I see, you know, really strong profit, I can't justify it. I do want to keep the cash flow going. So I just have trouble putting myself on payroll.
Yep.
Is there a disadvantage to that?
So, you know, I started paying myself, my wife years ago because my CPA told me that when the IRS sees a small business that's not paying the owners any money, but the owners are working in the business, that's a red flag because you are paying yourself. I mean, you're using the company credit card to pay some expenses.
Right.
You're doing other things. It's just not in payroll. So there's two forms of income for an owner in a small business. There's the W-9 payroll side, and then there's the owner's distribution side. And you could be paying yourself zero in payroll, which is not taxed at all, but you're spending $100,000 on the Amex Platinum card, you know, going to Tahiti. There's your solution, Lynn. And
Yeah.
what the IRS doesn't like is that you're not paying any taxes on that. I mean, you're using the company money for personal income, but you're paying no taxes. So they consider that, you know, dishonest, basically, and they want their payroll tax. So my accountant told me that if I needed to take a certain salary every month and do it consistently every 2 weeks, just like I pay my team members, so the IRS would be happy and not bother me. And will you be audited? Who knows? I mean, it's a Russian roulette. Pretty
Sure.
unlikely. But if the CPA, if a professional tells me to do something, I'm probably going to do it because I don't want to deal with the hassle of not listening to him and then and then getting in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. Audit is a 4-letter word.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, talk to your CPA, talk to your CFO, and if your CPA, who is the tax person, tells you to do something, you should probably consider it. And I used to hate paying the payroll taxes, but in the grand scheme of things, who cares?
Right. Actually, this has been really helpful because I'm thinking, you know, the cost of the payroll taxes versus the cost of an audit and going
Exactly.
through all that. It's just,
You know,
yeah.
a small dose of an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of whatever cure. So, my best advice is to get professional advice on these questions. Because you and I are not tax experts, we're not financial experts, we're not business experts. So, if you get the more people you can rely on that have more knowledge than you do, I would use it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great question. Now, the best thing I like about these P&Ls is the dreaming part. Because if you've got, you know, $500,000 of retained earnings planned for next year, what are you going to spend it on? I want to buy some equipment. I want to hire some more people. My wife wants a new truck. Whatever you want to do. But you've got to have this plan starting off from January 1st because you're going to use this projection for next year as a rubric for how it's going. So if I plan to make $100,000 this month and I plan on spending 25, so I have 75,000 bucks in profit. Well, if you get to January 31st and you have 25,000 in profit, 1/3 of what you budgeted, something's wrong. But if you got double the profit, then go back to the scoreboard and start dreaming bigger. I want to buy more equipment. I want to hire more people. I want to do more things. So this is a great time of the year, beginning of January, to look at what do you think you're going to make this year? What do you think you're going to spend this year? And what are the capital projects that are important to you? I mean, what is going to fundamentally change your business? A new line, a new product, a new service, buy a drone, buy a laser scanner, hire 3 new team members. This is your time to set yourself up for success and get a game plan. And it's really exciting because if you meet those goals, if you hire those people, it just motivates you more for next year. Trent's got so many team members to take care of. He's going to one day it's like flee to Mexico or something and never be seen again, you know, take on an alternate identity.
Exactly.
No, he's got to get his daughter operating the business first, so then he can really flee to Mexico and still have the income. Now, the balance sheet is another key document because a balance sheet is nothing more than a snapshot in time. What are my assets? I've got a paid for office building that's worth $500,000. I've got 2 trucks or 5 trucks. I've got, 4 total stations, whatever you have as assets. Then subtract your liabilities. And someone told me happiness is when you receive more mutual fund statements in the mail than you receive monthly bills. It's true. And, one of your goals for the year should be, if you have any debt, to get rid of it. I owed some money last year, 2 or 3 things, paid it all off. My, probably a couple $100,000 worth of toys and other junk. And boy, it feels good when you pay those things off because you're not cashing out monthly cash flow. Because the more you owe, the more monthly bills you have to pay, the more your cash flow is crimped. So I've got one more thing to pay off in the business this year, which is my office building. About 40% left on it. My number one goal in 2023 is to pay off that stupid office building. So stop writing checks. No rent. There's no monthly dues. It's, the taxes are super cheap, like $1,000 a year for, $500,000 office building. So if I get this office building paid off, a couple $36,000 next year in free cash flow, that's a big, driver. I really want to get rid of those payments. So in my P&L for 2023, my number one goal, where all the retained earnings are going to go for the first few months, pay off this damn office building. And the more you reduce the liabilities, the more money your company will be worth when you want to sell it or give it to your kids or whatever else. And the balance sheet's also a great way to take a pulse of your business because you're wondering, how resilient am I? If you've got 6 months worth of emergency fund in cash, you can survive some downtimes in the business. The economy crashes, who cares? But if you've got $0 in the bank and the stock market dives 20% and people stop buying surveys for a brief time as they're freaked out, you're not going to have the runway to survive a few lean months. I remember when COVID hit 2 or 3 years ago, the test prep business for like 2 weeks went to zero. Like nobody was buying test prep stuff because they were all so concerned about this stupid virus going around the country. Well, after about a month or two, people finally got their heads back on their shoulders, realized they're not going to die tomorrow, and started purchasing test prep again. It was completely fine. But if I had $0 in the bank and I had no business for a few weeks, there's payroll to run, and it would be a bad time. A lot of companies went through that. And that's why there was the COVID-19 SBA loan and the Paycheck Protection Program, all this stuff, because all these businesses failed because they had no money. And it wasn't a small business. Hertz went out of business. Hertz, the biggest rental car company, the oldest rental car company in the world, went out of business because they had very limited cash flow for a short period of time. There was no traveling, and they had $0 in the bank, and they had a ton of debt. I mean, they were borrowed up to their eyeballs. Now, of course, Hertz got sold in bankruptcy and it still exists today, but it's not the same owners as it was 2 years ago. All the airlines, they had $0. They had to go for a huge bailout. So they had what was called zero cash flow, and they basically almost went bankrupt. All right. The next thing is the position statement. And the position statement is where you define what you expect of every employee. And even I, as the CEO, have a position statement. Now, Dave Ramsey says to be unclear is to be unkind. So since Trent's such a victim here, Trent, when you hire a new, he had a PLS walk in off the street and wanted a job. Okay, great, you're hired. What are the basic expectations of this new PLS?
I start them slow at least. So it kind of give them the first 30 days of getting on their feet. But I mean, at that point, it all depends on what comes out in the interview too, right? It could be a PLS in the field. And if I hire him for the office, he's not going to know how to produce a map if I hired a field surveyor, right? So it all depends, right?
Well, give me
That's our
some
famous words.
quantity. Like, do you have a number? You have to produce 20 construction surveys per month. You have to bill 2,000 hours per month. Do you have any quantity numbers, like expectations, say the first year?
In the first year, yeah, I would say, I mean, well, we do 1,100 plus jobs a year. So yeah, yeah. No, I don't have that. I don't have that number for you, Tony.
Do they know what you expect of them?
Yeah.
Get busy.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Make some money.
That's right.
And this is my thing, implicit or explicit. I worked at Texas A&M for years, and there was a 1 through 5 annual rating. And you were guaranteed never to get a 5, because if they gave you a 5, you were eligible for a pay increase. So no matter what you did throughout that year, you could you could cure cancer, and they wouldn't give you a 5, because then they were in the hook to put you in the pool for a pay raise. So implicitly, you had an expectation as an employee that this is not going to happen. Now, what about explicit? At A&M, you had to teach 5 classes per semester. It's a lot of classes. You had to run 5 full classes per semester. That was an expectation. But how did I know that? There was no contract. There was no agreement. You showed up to work and they said, you're going to teach these 5 classes. Okay. So what I do is I write what's called a position statement for any new employee. And I write this thing so there's no ambiguity here. So header of a new team member. You're going to be a land surveyor in training. You're going to use timeless surveying principles to solve problems. You're going to report to the Vice President of Expert Services. You're going to work 30 hours a week. And your salary, once they're hired, it'll be a real dollar amount. Like I'm going to pay you $60,000 a year salary, plus there's another listing here that says you'll get 2 weeks off, you'll get holidays, you'll get a Christmas bonus, whatever. So this is the basic information. Now, the summary of the job title is next. So, darn it. The individual in this position is responsible for assisting expert services team in solving disputes. The survey 1 consultant is expected to have a knowledge of surveying and to articulate these things. So generally, you know what the expectation is. Now, I actually rewrote this because this wasn't very good. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to share my entire screen so y'all can see my new expectations. Land Surveyor in Training, KSI. And in fact, I'm going to vacuum this up and put it in the presentation for next time. So what do I expect of this person? Slideshow. I expect them to write me a surveyor playbook which documents every task they're required to do. A call, a working sketch, a field survey. You are going to document your job in grueling detail, because as soon as this survey consultant finishes year one, I'm going to hire 3 more. And survey consultant, Johnny, is going to train the 3 others using Johnny's book. Second, you're going to bill 1,000 hours of your time to expert clients. Well, if it's 1,000 hours a year, divide that by 12, that's monthly. You better hit your monthly billing goals. You're going to get your PLS or your SIT, whatever your goal is. And then you're going to implement 1 new LG funnel item. What does that mean? You're going to hold a webinar. You're going to go to conferences. You're going to do something to bring in new business. And we'll choose that later. Now, if Johnny shows up after 3 months of working for me and he's only billed 50 hours a month, okay, maybe this is just growing pains. He needs some coaching. We need some help. If Johnny reaches 6 months and he's still billing 50 hours a month, then maybe it's time for Johnny to go somewhere else. There's no ambiguity here. You've got to bill your hours. You've got to write your playbook. You've got to come up with a new way to find clients. Otherwise, you can't be here anymore. So how are we going to do that? Well, at NLC, we have bi-weekly meetings between your superior and yourself, and we talk about personal stuff, business stuff, goals, KSIs, position statement. We talk about your family, and we're just making sure there's no annual review. We check in every 2 weeks, not every year, because we want to make sure you're happy, that I'm happy, the business is happy, and what else can we do to help you? Very important. And then the key results, this is like an expansion of the summary. So key results area 1, assist the senior surveyors with disputes. You're going to read title reports. You're going to make a working sketch from AutoCAD. You're going to go to the field, all this stuff. And if you're having a problem with producing good working sketches, we're going to get you some more training to help you. But if you continually do not meet the key results, it's not a question of if we can keep you. It's a question of, are you meeting your key results areas, yes or no? And if you're not consistently, you got to go. Who here has employees without a written agreement? So without an employment contract or specific written policies, key results, salary, benefits, all that. Who has implicit things with their employees?
I have employees that the written contracts and the actual job responsibilities have evolved or they're shifted.
Sure.
Yep. And the contract was not adjusted accordingly, which is something that is kind of high on my list.
Yeah, that's a great point. So you have a contract that says you're going to do the field work, and then they evolve into an office person because they're so good at it, and it's not documented. That could be really dangerous, because if you're asking a team member to do things outside their job description, and then you fire them for doing a bad job outside of their job description, they can use that to sue you. Or, even at a more basic level, I always want to talk to my team members and say, how's it going? How are you doing? Are you enjoying your job? Are you meeting my expectations? Are you having fun? Are you making as much money as you think you should? All those things. And at our bi-weekly meetings, we talk about this. And, last year I had a paralegal who told my wife during the meeting he wanted to quit. And he can't quit because he makes us so much money that it just, makes your eyes bleed. So I said, what can we do to keep you? And he says, well, I really wasn't planning on quitting. I just wanted a 25% salary raise. Sure, why not? I mean, you make so much money for the company, you can have a good salary raise. And we gave everybody a bonus at the end of the year. But, if you have these discussions about what's expected and if those expectations are being met, if you have those discussions often and they're scheduled, then it's not a big deal. What if the paralegal would just quit? Like he would just say, I don't want to, I could make more money somewhere else. I quit. Never gave us the chance to give us a salary raise. We would have spent so much money retraining somebody. We would have spent so much time trying to recruit a new paralegal. It would have been a really bad quarter or a bad year. So I'd much rather deal with issues ahead of time and make sure everyone's happy and productive now than deal with problems when they erupt. Because your employees are not going to really talk to you about issues until they become a real issue if you're not having these regular meetings. So
how much does it take you to how much does it cost you to replace an employee? Have you quantified that?
Incalculable. If they're doing a good job, incalculable. If they're doing a bad job, keeping them is incalculable, wasting your money. And we've had some team members who were more focused on their own personal needs and less focused on their key results areas. And it wasn't a big, it was apparent that like, this is the expectation. You're not meeting it consistently. What can I do to help you? I'm having family problems. Okay, let's talk about it. Here's a book to read. Read this book, it'll help you. They don't read the book, then they're not interested in solving their own problems. And we've had a few of those. Dave Ramsey calls them the stallion and the donkey. The stallion is the producer. Jerry is a content creator at NLC Prep, and Jerry's a stallion. He produces really good questions. He answers student questions. He helps the students are happy. The content is great. But there's also these donkeys, and the donkeys and the stallions don't play in the same pen. If you put a donkey with a bunch of stallions, then the donkey's going to bring all the stallions down to the same level as they are. And we've all had some donkeys in our business before. I mean, they're killing the vibe of everybody else. They're gossiping. They're not getting their stuff done. And I'm a bit more sway back nag. Oh no, Jerry's a stallion. He gets all his stuff done. He produces good stuff. But if you've got a donkey shacking up with all your stallions, then it's going to infect the whole crew. So it's tough, but I know Trent has fired quite a few donkeys. His employees have told me that, and it's not been pretty. And in fact, we came across one of Trent's donkeys authoring a previous draft survey. It was funny. So how do you use this position statement? Well, you write the position statement before the job is ever posted. If you're considering hiring someone, write the entire position statement. I don't post the whole thing. I just post pieces of it to give people a taste. And then when they come in for their third interview, we're about to hire them, I show them the statement and I say, what do you think about this? And a lot of the times, if the people are smart, they're going to edit that agreement and they're going to make it their own. So if they think, well, I can't bill 1,000 hours this year, I want to bill 750, start off. Sure. Or you've got 5 key results areas. That's too much. I need 3. Okay. And most importantly, you got to sign it. Every time someone comes to work for us, every time the the pay gets raised, every time the hours change, position statement gets signed. So it's completely clear what expectations everybody has. And as a business owner, you need someone in HR to do this. Like, you're not going to have time to do all this paperwork, but you better have it because, first of all, it sets expectations. Second, it gives you a measuring stick to see if the person's measuring up or beating the measurements. And if you've got an employee who is consistently exceeding their position statement in terms of deliverables, quality, then they deserve either a pay increase or a bonus. Stupid Siri back here talking.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Yeah.
Do you because it seems like this statement could be pretty broad. Do you quantify each part of the statement and then put a sort of a bonus associated with that, or is it just sort of based on
Well,
just kind of a case by case?
That's a great question. So there are really two measures. There's quantity. That's not what I want to say. Qualitative and quantitative. Right. So quantitative is you build 1,000 hours. If you bill 1,500, you better get some money. Qualitative is you've answered student tickets on time, or you made great working sketches. So it's really impossible to put a number to everything. But on the quantitative areas, say you got 4 team members in expert services, and we made 25% more profit this year. We made an extra $250,000 this year. Well, if I made an extra $250,000, maybe I should share $25,000 with 4 people. Not a whole lot of money, but if you get a $5,000 check, life's good. And that's one of my big goals for 2023 is to stash some money towards the end of the year and not have a $1,000 bonus for next year, have a $10,000 bonus or a $5,000 bonus. I mean, something really, something kind of substantial. And it's not just about how well that team member is doing, but also how well is your business doing? Like, did you make a really good profit? Let's share it around. Or if you lost money or you didn't make as much profit, what happened? What prevented me from making that profit I budgeted in January? Have a discussion with your team members. So it's difficult because you can't quantify everything, but I think from your balance sheet and your profit and loss, you'll have a pretty good idea. Was this a great year? Was this a decent year? Or was this a crappy year? And you could do the same thing for the month. Was it an amazing quarter? Spread some bonuses. Was it a crappy quarter? Who's not doing their job? Now, the last thing. Go ahead.
Yep, that was it. Thanks. Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Summer?
It did, yeah. It's the qualitative. Are you saying that would be sort of the cherry on top end of year of things that are not, where you can't assign a clear metric?
Yeah, and it's all a little subjective, right? Like, I made extra 25% this year in profit. Why? Was it because of your team members? Was it because of the market? Was it because of your hard work? I mean, a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, is a little murky. But as long as you get the big picture right, you can afford to make some, guesses in the zoomed in version.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love the questions. Now, the last thing I have is the idea that most businesses run through people. And what I mean by that is you've got a key person who knows stuff, and they get the job. They produce the survey. they do the accounting. Well, what happens if one of these 5 people disappeared? So Trent has a couple of lieutenants, and if one of the 4 lieutenants disappeared, would an entire segment of Trent's business also disappear because this person knew so much and there's no other source for that knowledge? It's really scary. A lot of businesses go under because their owner dies. I watched this YouTube channel called Matterhorn, Matterhor in business. And this old timer who's a dentist started a small business coaching. He was amazing. Well, he died of a heart attack last year, and his kids decided to take over the business, and they're going to produce the content. Well, they're nice kids, but they don't know anything. So, the YouTube viewership went from 10,000 people a month to 100 because no one's watching the kids. They haven't lived long enough to know what they don't know. So this guy had his entire business in him, and now it's gone. On the other hand, what happened to Ray Kroc? What happened to McDonald's when Ray Kroc died? Did it shut down for a week and everyone had to figure it out and then they came back? No. Ray Kroc, McDonald's, completely separable. Why? Because Ray Kroc did not start a restaurant. He started a business. And in fact, Ray Kroc never worked in a McDonald's. He opened an entirely separate office across town where he ran the business side of McDonald's, never ran the finances from the first McDonald's shop. He had a vision that there was an input, a process, and an output. Input, I'm hungry. Process, make a hamburger. Output, collect $3, get 2 hamburgers, make a profit of $1. Well, this is exactly how every process in the small business runs. And I'm a firm believer that everything has to be documented. And I'll give you an example. We have an initial review where the attorney sends us their documents. We read them, we do a little research, we have a meeting, and we tell the attorney, your case is good, your case is not good. If I were you, what would I do? And it's a step-by-step on how to do it. And I've even recorded several calls. So if the paralegal wants to run the call, if the new survey consultant wants to run the call, they can listen to how I do it. They can read the step-by-step, and they can do this without me. Now, I'll tell you what, I have a long way to go until everything's documented. I'm not even close to there. But, it's an ongoing process. Now, I love the systems, not the people, because as a person, when you are preparing to do something, I get anxious. I'm going out of town. I'm going to Vegas for a few days to do a survey. I'm anxious for 2 or 3 days before that because I'm thinking my flight's going to be delayed. I'm going to run into a crazy owner with a gun. I'm going to have a crappy hotel. Who knows what's going to happen? So I tense up, get anxious. Now, when you're about to throw a pebble in a pond, does the pond make a ripple? You're about to throw it. You're just about to throw it. Does the pond make a ripple? No. The pond reacts exactly equal and opposite reaction from the pebble. And does the reaction change based on how the pond is feeling, what day of the week it is? No, it's systematic. You throw a small pebble, you get a small ripple. You throw a big rock, you get a huge ripple. Consistent. And what customers expect is on time, as promised, on time, as promised, on time. And if they don't get the level of service they're accustomed to, they're going to get pissed off and they're going to leave. And now, I hate to say this, but my wife loves McDonald's, and about 50% of the time, the order's wrong. Like, you just know it's going to be wrong. But you go to Chick-fil-A, they smile. They ask how you're doing. They give you a nice chicken sandwich, very basic chicken sandwich, which is rarely, if ever, wrong. And they don't say, have a nice day. They say, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. You know, they're going to say that, 100 times before you leave. So it's a very good experience because you expect a chicken sandwich and French fries. You get a chicken sandwich and French fries hot, on time. It tastes the same whether you're in Las Vegas or in Charlotte or in Palm Beach. And you also expect friendly service, which I don't think I've ever been disrespected by a Chick-fil-A employee, ever. Great business. So here's an example. Input. An attorney calls and says, hi, Nate. I want to take Dr. Nettleman's deposition. Can you help me do that? Or, hello, I'm reaching out because I have a boundary dispute in Jackson County, Wyoming. Or, state conference. We want to have Dr. Nettleman speak at the conference. Whatever the input is, the client shows up and they want something. I want a double bacon cheeseburger. Okay. Trigger. What happens next? You request a double bacon cheeseburger. McDonald's gets to work. They make the meat. They heat up the bun. They get the French fries in the vat of oil. If someone says, hi, Nate, I need a deposition. Well, Nate knows to run schedule CF410, schedule and prepare an expert deposition. If Nate's not there, Rochelle can do it. If Rochelle's not there, Stephanie can do it. If no one's there, I guess I could do it. But the client is going to get a scheduled deposition the same way every time, no matter who is answering this email. So let me go through this. So the attorney says, I need a deposition. All right. The operations staff looks at the expert contract and confirms that no expert testimony is allowed via Zoom. I hate Zoom. It's stupid, especially for depositions, sharing maps and stuff. And second, the operations staff is going to check my hourly rate because older clients get billed one amount, newer clients get billed another. We want to make sure the invoice has the correct hourly amount. Next, we're going to pull up Depo 1 canned response. And if there's one thing you learned today, y'all have got to try this. This is amazing. This is a Google template. So I'm going to pull this up. Y'all can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Go to Compose. Got these damn chat menus here. Click on Template. Depo 1. Dear Janie, thank you for requesting Dr. Nettleman's deposition. Based on previous experience, blah, blah, blah. So let me tell you how this works. Give me some dates. I'll give you an estimate. You pay it and you're confirmed. Don't schedule and don't subpoena him. Otherwise, he'll come and strangle you because I don't want to get served without payment. So let's get started. Can you give me 3 deposition dates? As a friendly reminder, read your contract. Thank you. Sent. This is a really comprehensive start to the deposition scheduling process. All right. What do you do next? Why do I have 2 of these open? Check with the survey consultant and make sure the dates are good. Then forward the Depo 2 canned response, which is where we give you an estimate and you have to pay it. Then make an estimate, and send it to them. And this is a process that gets done every time, no matter who's doing it, no matter what attorney requested. You are going to get a comprehensive and standardized deposition schedule. But you've got to decide, first of all, who's responsible. Well, a lot of times it's obvious. The paralegal schedules things. The survey consultant provides testimony. The financial controller makes the invoice. But it's got to be in there, and there you go. We have ops, we've got financial controller, we've got survey consultant. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Second, what do? Well, put it in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is amazing how many boxes it takes to document a simple process. I mean, all the implicit things you don't even realize you do to solve a problem. And third, what happens next? A survey, attorney asks for a deposition. Okay, what's next? You look at the contract. What's next? You send them an email. What's next? And the only time you stop is when the process is 100% complete. The client's been served, you've got your money, and it's over. Now, the E-Myth categorizes business functions in marketing, finance, management, customer fulfillment. Well, if you look at the number of systems I have, just starting off, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these systems. And I'm not even getting started. I mean, I could scroll. I'm going to show you all. I'm going to scroll through this, and it just goes forever. I mean, could you imagine running GE or a really large corporation? I mean, you probably have a million of these things. But the good thing is that when my wife Stephanie decides, I don't want to do this anymore, hire a financial controller. They work under Stephanie for a month, learn how to use the system. They're productive. Nate decides he wants to go to vacation for a month. We go find a temporary paralegal or hire a second one. Nate shadows them for a month. They run the UMs. And it doesn't matter who requests the service. It doesn't matter who's providing the service. They're going to get the same level of competence, the same system every time. And if you can produce results for your clients as consistent as Chick-fil-A produces chicken sandwiches, your business is going to be just fine without you. That's a long way to go, believe me. I mean, I started this 2 years ago, and I haven't even scratched the surface of getting there. But just starting the process and documenting this stuff is a huge weight off your shoulders, because people are unreliable, schizophrenic, inconsistent. But systems, if the systems are run as documented every time, then you've got yourself a business. And I'll share with you this tool called Tranual. I'm too cheap to buy it, but they do these systems documenting with videos, audio, step by step. It's really nice. I like my PDFs, like I showed you over here, but I'm having to record videos. I'm having to record audio. And I've been doing this playbook where I've got an explanation of the I've got the itself. I've got a video, audio call template. So this is kind of like the cheap version of Tranual. But if you've got the money to spend, Tranual is really nice. And the Tranual guy is a Michael Gerber E-Myth groupie. I mean, he talks about E-Myth, constantly. So he gets this systems-based training. I'm also going to offer you guys, Shaha is my E-Myth business coach, and he is willing to talk to anyone for free for 1 hour. So if you guys have business questions, business problems, you want to have a better business next year, I'm paying $2,500 a month for business coaching, and it is worth probably 25,000 a month. I mean, it's stupid. I was afraid to spend the money when I first started, because it was $1,500 a month for 2 calls, and my business, you know, would absolutely be in worse shape today if I wouldn't have paid the $1,500 a month. The business coaching is absolutely worth it. And Shahar is like a guru. You know, he's a Israeli who lives in Canada, and he reminds me of like a guru from like Austin Powers. He's got a lot of, you know, really quirky jokes. He's got a lot of very sage advice. And if I can give you one piece of advice before we leave today, it is to get outside counsel, to have a CFO, to have a business coach. I've got a management board of directors now where 2 of my VPs are on the management team. And then my wife and I are on the team as well. And I used to run the business by like a fiefdom, you know, whatever Tony said was law. And I'm not over that quite yet, but having, you know, these VPs provide a different perspective from inside the business, and having the CFO and the business coach provide opinions outside the business, it's very, very useful, you know, because if you get in your own echo chamber, you're not able to really hear what's going on. All right, so questions. Who's got some questions?
I have a somewhat an oblique question. So maybe if somebody wants to go first, they should.
Let's hear it.
Oh, well, I'm not a business owner
Connie,
at the moment. Hi, it's Connie. I'm not a business owner at the moment, but I am a project manager where I'm expected to develop and manage a segment of a business. And I'm trying to figure out how much of that advice to translate into project management. And when you mentioned business coaching and stuff, a light bulb went in my head, because some of the information I was kind of curious about. How do I get ahead of the competition as far as you know, project management, or how to be more effective beyond what the company teaches? So,
and you know, a lot of companies do not do a good job at mentoring or teaching their employees. So, you know, you want to be a great project manager, and you've got to, you know, I would start with the primary aim and think about, you know, why do you want to be a great project manager? You know, what do you want to do in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years? Do you want to be a great project manager because you want to make more money? Do you want to do it so you have more free time? Do you want to do it because you want to teach others how to be a project manager? Like, what, you know, why are you really doing this?
I like building things and I like to see them thrive.
Okay, that's a great answer. So then you think, well, where am I at right now? And how do I get to the point where I'm like a project manager guru? I'm so good at this, I can teach others how to do it. Like, you know, I know the systems. Well, what kind of books do you have to read? What kind of courses do you have to take? How about this? Who is one project manager that you think is an excellent PM? Like, if you could be them in 5 or 10 years, who would that be? And it could be someone outside your company on LinkedIn or somewhere else. Get a mentor. I bet they've made plenty of mistakes in their line of business, and maybe they can tell you some of those mistakes so you don't make them as well. Great question.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, I'm going to check out the book, and I want to read about the Mr. Perlman. And there's other books and training and stuff that I'm reading through, so that I get as much of a crash course as possible. The company has internal training too that I went through already. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's keeping me up at night at the moment, other than getting business leads and converting them in. How to do this right so that it has the best chance of succeeding. And I'm a big believer in organizing up front, even potentially doing a form of a business planning, but at the project management scale, so that I can keep the priorities and goals, like, so I can keep focused on things.
Yeah, and even like a journal or making your own online course, or even like YouTube videos are great. To document, what you need to do, or like what are the basic principles of project management. Share three principles, and you may find other people who have other principles to share with you. So, kind of document what you're learning as you go through. Otherwise, you're going to forget all of it.
I like that idea. Thank you.
Other questions? Well, we're quiet as a mouse tonight.
It is kind of quiet.
Well, I can't get to Mentoring Mondays most weeks because I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and it's 7 o'clock by the time, East Coast time. So I'm sure we got a lot of sleepy people out there.
Yeah, exactly. Summer, you got another question?
Well, I think I'm gonna, because I do a lot of coaching. I built this business, broken it down, rebuilt it, broken it down, and we're at this place where I realize that it's definitely at the reevaluate, break down, build back up, and the hardest part is, for me, is staying ahead of the curve enough to be able to message appropriately to my team so that they don't get scared of change. The change management piece of it is really difficult for a small business. Is there, and I have not read eMyth, which I am surprised I haven't, but it's on my list. Do you have any, is that covered there? Is change management, maybe has that been a problem for you guys? Because for me, that's probably one of the hardest aspects of the business, both internally and externally,
Sure.
communicating to clients and to the employees.
Well, I hate change. So I try to change my business as little as possible, which is hard because, you want to change it to make it better. But, I have a difficulty with change. Now, the eMyth book doesn't really cover change a lot. But, the eMyth coaching has hundreds of exercises. And one of them is called a company meeting, where, like, when do you meet with your team members? How often? What do you talk about? And I think if you communicate what you're trying to do, that'll help the change. At NLC, we meet a lot. We meet every morning, 9 a.m., where everybody talks about what's going to happen this week, make a weekly list. We go through our daily list Monday through Friday. Well, we take Wednesday off. We also have a bi-weekly meeting for every segment. So the marketing team meets with me every other Tuesday. The finance team meets with me every other Thursday. The lead conversion team meets up with me the other Thursday. So when you have all these meetings, it's not about you telling them what's going to happen, but it's more about, getting a game plan and checking your metrics and making goals. We also do quarterly meetings, where those are the big strategic meetings, where you could say, hey, this isn't working. We need to fix this issue, and it's going to require some change. What do y'all think needs to be changed? And I bet your team members know what's not working. And we do these quarterly meetings for finance, marketing, lead conversion, customer fulfillment, and then we all get together. And if you have, a really big issue to deal with, maybe you should go off site for a few days. This is when I get some more money together from after I buy my capital improvements. Strategic Coach, they go for a week-long vacation, like Hawaii. They rent a resort in the Caribbean. They do something really crazy once a year, and it's partially company planning, but it's also partially just personally getting together and having a good time with your team. So maybe you should get your team together for a day or a weekend and do some planning, do some personality fun things, and maybe that will, spark the ability to talk about the change. But I mean, as long as your team knows that you are leading them and they have some kind of input into what's going to happen, I mean, what's the worst?
Right. Yeah, no, we do quarterly retreats, like a conference for 3 days. We do we do a lot of this stuff just to keep everybody, that have the morale high, and make sure everyone feels like they're part of building the business. But it does get tricky when there are things that there's a division of the company. It was assessed, it was not profitable. It was, and we had to close it down, and everyone got freaked out. So it's that proactive communication to say, don't worry, this is not an indication of failure. It's best for the business moving forward. Yep. And that kind of deal. So it's that delivery is something that is always, it is challenging. The timing is everything.
Who's that guy who fired his entire company on Zoom? I'm trying to remember.
Elon Musk, who fired everyone on Twitter.
Zoom. Oh. I'm going to look this up. Mass firing. I remember it was like a year ago. Yeah. It was CEO fired 900 employees via a Zoom call.
Oh, that's awful.
CEO of Unicorn Mortgage, better.com. I remember those people. Yeah, okay. So, sometimes it's not just what you say, but, how you say it and what is the context. And, when you're going through a big transition, like, closing an entire division, that's pretty scary, because the people are thinking, why'd you close a division? Is it because the whole company's going under? Is it because we're not making what's happening here? And, just, I think probably honesty is the best, and transparency is probably the best thing to say. Say, we have 4 divisions. 3 are making a bunch of money. The 4th one is really a anvil on the rest of the company. It had to go. People understand that.
Yep. Okay, thank you so much.
Other questions?
Tyler had one in the chat.
Oh, yeah, let's read this.
Yeah.
I am a one-man shop, and I think I like it that way. I'm efficient and productive, and am, for the moment, meeting my goals. I feel like a small business owner, but a lot of the guidance resources are positioned toward adding people and growing revenue. Now, there is a great book about this, where there's a guy talking about how he doesn't have a business. He has a sole proprietorship. He's the producer. And, you may have helpers like an accountant or a CFO or a CPA, whatever, to help you. But if you're a one-man operation, you like it, keep it that way. You don't have to grow. And I wish I knew what book that was, but I read it a few years ago, and it was a guy who said, I don't want to grow. I have no plans to grow. I have no plans to hire any employees. Don't want to do it. Well, that's fine. Just realize you're not a business owner. You are self-employed, and that's fine. If that's what you want, do it. So don't feel pressured to add people and grow revenue just for the sake of adding people and growing revenue. Other questions?
I think we are caught. That is everybody on chat. And we're sitting at the 2-hour mark. That was a long one.
Well,
I love it.
Rob McMillan owes me a safety presentation from like a couple months ago.
He does.
So you need to find him before 2 weeks from now and have him do the safety on the 23rd. So he promised me to build me a CEU for safety. So whoever knows Rob McMillan, call him and harass him, because he's coming on the 23rd for the safety.
I will get him on.
He'll be in Fresno next week for the state conference, for the Fresno State conference.
I think is it this week? Because David
12th?
Bush.
End of 12th. I'm sorry, end of this week.
When you see him, tell him he owes Tony a full safety CEU, and he's going to do a dry run on the 23rd.
I'll get him.
All right. It's been great, guys.
Was the book, did you say it was the E-Myth Revisited?
Yes. Yep. And that's
Okay.
basically the old E-Myth book that's just been updated. So E-Myth Revisited. There's a ton
Okay.
of Michael Gerber YouTube on there, and it's amazing. Like Michael Gerber is the best public speaker I've ever seen. He's hilarious. He's got a lot of good information. So if you don't want to buy the book, look up Michael Gerber or E-Myth YouTube. And even Tranual has an E-Myth course for free because they love E-Myth. Just do something, but E-Myth will change your business.
Okay, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this.
All right, guys. Well, I've got a red-eye flight from Vegas to Charlotte in a few hours, so I'm going to pack up my items and go take a nap on the plane. But thank you for joining me. Really enjoyed it. Had a good time. And get ready for safety in 2 weeks.
Love it. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Good night.
Awesome. Have a good night. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you, Tony.